Hey y'all, my name's Amanda, and I'm here to kind of just talk about what happened to me and hopefully help to avoid this happening to anyone else out there. I started out a friendship with one of my friends, my abuser, and we would hang out all the time, go to parties together, and I never got any sort of weird feeling or ever felt, rushed to do anything. So I felt comfortable, honestly. I felt like this is somebody I could get drunk around and not have to worry about anything. Just to kind of explain and really show that just anyone around you could be, your abuser. It's just like any other day I'm at work and he texts me and says, "Hey, there's this party going on. Do you want to go?" And I said, "You know what? I'm super down for a party, school. This was during college. I was like, I need a break. I need to go have a drink." I got home, I got ready. I told my roommate, I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to go out. I'll be back." And my roommate was like, "Yeah, have fun." I left. I met up with him and, everything's normal. We're at this party. He introduces me to two other people at this party that I had not met before. And one of them was like a family member and the other one was just like a family friend, but they were visiting. Neither of them were from, our town. So yeah, actually I had just turned 21 around that time and I had just moved out as well. I had started a new college. I had a new set of friends, a new place to live. Everything was just so new and exciting, and it's very hard to kind of find your little niche, your little circle of friends. So when I found, this group of people that my abuser, happened to just be a part of, I thought like, hey, these are my people. It's funny because the same group of people is who I thought I could count on after all this happened. And they actually ended up being the people that didn't believe me and actually sided with our other friend. That group of friends from college were at that party because anytime we would all go to parties together, it's always like the same 5 or 6 group of people. 3 or 4 guys versus like 3 girls. So me and like 2 other girls. So again, I felt safe. There was a good, mixture of people there. And the party was very chill. It was kind of like a house party. We just showed up, everyone kind of like BYOB, so bring your own. And from what I remember, I wasn't drinking that much. The last thing I remember is taking a sip out of somebody's styrofoam cup. And I don't know what was in there, but that's all I can remember. Don't remember exactly who handed me the cup, but it was definitely one of the people that was with us that said, "Hey, try this." And I knew they had put some sort of alcohol in it. I just wasn't sure what it was, but I don't remember it being like a foul, "Oh my gosh, this is so strong" type of drink. I remember thinking, "Oh, okay, this isn't bad. Like, this is kind of sweet." So I'm till this day, I have no idea what was in that cup. I just remember that's literally the last thing I remember putting to my lips, and that is it. So after taking a sip of that beverage, all I remember is just waking up, and the first thing I realized was I wasn't wearing any pants. So that was the first gut feeling because I had a shirt on, but I didn't have my bra on anymore. And I remember thinking that was very weird. And then I didn't have anything, but I had my socks on. And I started to like get up from the bed and I started to kind of try to find my clothes because that's the first thing I needed to cover up. So I was trying to look for my pants, trying to look for my shoes. And that evening I had worn these type of combat boots that were very popular at the time. And they had like a big zipper on the side. And I knew you don't have to undo the laces to take these boots off. You just have to unzip it from the side. So those little small details I started to realize, and that's how I knew it wasn't me that had taken off these items, because I would have never undone the laces. I had never touched those laces. You just unzip it from the side. I would have not left my socks on. I would have taken my top. I just knew something was wrong. I was able to find my pants, but I was never able to find my underwear. So that was somewhere lost in the chaos. As soon as I was able to kind of find some clothes and try to cover up, at that point I started to realize, okay, now I gotta get out of here. But I couldn't find my phone. So couldn't find my keys. So I'm like, okay, panic mode. How do I get out of here? How am I gonna get out of here? Where am I? Type of situation. So I start to look around the room, can't find my keys or my phone. At that point, I don't know what to do. So I had to tap on my abuser's shoulder, who happens to be sleeping next to me in the bed. So I tap on his shoulder and I'm like, where are my keys? Where's my phone? And that's when he proceeds to tell me that I left my belongings in somebody's car. Somebody had dropped us off at this apartment and I might have left my stuff in the car. So I used his phone to call his friend so that I can try to get my stuff back. Because the first thing I thought of, to get home, I need my car. I can't call anyone. I can't do anything. So that's what I do. And then as soon as I finished that phone call, his friend said to give him like 10, 15 minutes. So as soon as that happened, I hid in the restroom. And I remember I was sitting in the restroom and I went to go pee and it hurt. And I immediately started to realize something is wrong. Every single inch of my body is telling me that something is wrong. So obviously something is happening, even though I don't remember exactly what is wrong or what is happening. 911, like something is really wrong here. So I'm waiting in the bathroom. I don't want to go back into the room. I don't want to talk to these people. I don't want to see them. So that's another kind of layer that I know something is wrong, because my body I just want to run and hide for some reason. So I was just waiting in the bathroom. And then I finally come out of the bathroom because I hear his friend is downstairs. And I go kind of take a peek in the room and just take a last little glance at the scene, because I was just still so confused as to what was happening. And of course, my abuser was laying down in a bed where I had just woken up from, and there was 2 people on the floor, kind of like in a little makeshift cot or something of some sort. And I could tell because they had like a very thin sheet over them. Some of them weren't fully clothed, so obviously I could tell something happened here. Like, why would there be 3 guys in one room with a girl? Obviously something is wrong. I get in the car. And as soon as I get in the car, I'm kind of taking a look around at my surroundings, trying to figure out where the hell I am, because I still don't know where I'm at. And that's when I realize I'm at my abuser's grandmother's apartment. So my abuser at the time lived with his grandmother, and I had been at that apartment before, maybe once. I think I've met her very briefly once. So that's the only reason I even had an idea where I was. But I knew that I was further away from home than I was. Party was way closer to my house. So again, my brain is just kind of taking all this into account and thinking, okay, something's wrong, and all these things are wrong. As soon as I sit in the car, I grab my phone and my keys that were just sitting in the back seat, and I tell my abuser's friend who's driving this car, I think something really bad happened last night. And he's like, oh, like, what do you think happened? Trying to like brush it off. And I'm like, no, like something really, really bad happened. And that the whole rest of the way I just couldn't talk, and I was just kind of frozen in fear, because you always hear about people accusing other people of, sexual assault and rape and so on and so forth. And I wanted to be very cautious with my words, because I didn't 100% for a fact know what had happened. So I was trying to give myself the benefit of the doubt, because, why would my friend do that to me? Why would that happen to me? Like, I'm better than this. I would have thought that I would have never put myself in this position. So I kind of didn't want to believe it at first. But, car ride went on. He drops me off. I'm still trying to process everything and thinking in the corner of my head, like, please don't let this be true. Like, there's no way I could have let this happen to me. So I walk into my house, which I had a few roommates at the time. And my roommate Felicia, who I had seen the night before and I had said bye to before I left to the party, she was sitting on the couch watching TV in the morning. So as soon as I walk in, I said, hey, and she's like, hey, how's the party? And as soon as that happened, I just started crying. And she's like, what's wrong? Come here. And I'm like, something really bad happened. Like, I don't know what, but I know something really bad happened. So then I immediately start crying, and we start trying to talk, and I start trying to remember. And that's when small glimpses start to come back. And that's when I start to feel just more embarrassed and ashamed than anything, because I felt like somebody had seen every, all of me, like naked in my most vulnerable position. I don't know how to explain it. It's just kind of embarrassing. It's not hot or sexy to think about yourself just laying there unconscious, so I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I just felt so vulnerable, like somebody had taken something away from me that I didn't give them permission to take. And not only that, but I'm very, very private with my body. I don't really change in front of girls. I don't change in front of my mom. So it was a really, really big deal to kind of just get over that. So it took me a while to accept it. And after I talked with my roommate, I didn't know what to do. I wanted to kind of be alone to try to process all this. And I did everything that you're not supposed to do. I went and I took a shower because I felt disgusting. I felt like their spit was on me, because I don't know. I just assumed they tried to touch me. I assumed things happened, so I wanted to shower as soon as I could and just scrub that layer off of me. So I took a shower. I put my clothes to wash, which I probably shouldn't have done that. Those are the 2 things that you're not supposed to do, which I now know. And then I remember calling one of my friends and saying, hey, what are you doing today? I needed to get out of the house. I can't be here because I'm just very upset. So I went to go hang out with some friends. I went to like a pool party, and we were hanging out by the pool. And I remember just kind of sitting in the back by myself, kind of by the hot tub, just dipping my feet in while everyone was in the pool, just having a good time. And my friend that I had originally called realized that something was happening. So he went to sit by me, and he was like, hey, like, what's going on? And I said, I think something really bad happened last night, but I don't know what to do because I don't know what happened, but I'm hurting down there. So obviously something happened. So at that time, my friend, who is a male, he had told me, he's like, I would call the police. Like, you need to do what's right and, call the police. But if you don't want to call the police, like, we can go send some guys to beat his ass. And I'm like, no. Like, I need to do the right thing and just like get the police involved, because doing the wrong thing never leads to anything right. Two wrongs don't make it right. So right after that little pool party, I went back home and I decided to text my abuser to try to see if I could even get anything, an excuse or anything, because I still couldn't wrap my head that my friend would do this to me. So I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I tried to give him a chance to just explain anything. And when I texted him, he was just like, oh, we got drunk. Like, he just tried to brush it off and like kind of ghosted me. So I was like, wow. Okay, this is obviously bad since, before all this happening, you wanted to keep texting me and you wanted me around. And after this happening, you just kind of want to brush it off to the side and don't want to talk about it further. Obviously, what happened was wrong. So at that point, that's when I called the police. They offered to come out to my house and, take my full statement and also drive me to the hospital to go get a rape kit done. So I don't really feel like I had much of a choice in terms of the rape kit. It was something that they kind of just took me there, didn't really prepare me or told me what it was. So right after that, I went straight to the hospital and they did a rape kit. It's extremely invasive. I was very, very scared because they just kind of take you into this room and they tell you to undress. They want you to get on all fours. So it's kind of like a pap smear, but all over. So it's very invasive, and they take pictures of everything. And that is also very invasive. Not only is somebody looking, they're taking pictures, and this is going to be on a file somewhere, and multiple people are going to look at this. So obviously going into this, I knew, okay, this is serious, but I have to do this if I want the right thing to happen, because I couldn't just let somebody get away with this. I wouldn't want this to happen to anyone else. So we went through the rape kit, and the whole time I was kind of just crying because, again, very invasive. But the nurse kept, assuring me that, hey, I'm seeing, there's chafing and there's ripped skin. So I have more than enough evidence to show that this wasn't like a consensual type of thing. So, rest assured, like, you're doing the right thing. Everything's going to be okay. And honestly, that's the only thing that was keeping me, able to go through everything, just knowing that I was doing the right thing and it was for a cause. Because if I would have known that nothing would have happened, I don't know what I would have done. But during the rape kit, it showed what I had already known. I hadn't had anal sex before, and I knew days after this, I was hurting really bad, and I wasn't able to use the restroom because of how much pain. So I knew it obviously wasn't consensual. And they just, reassured me about all those things. So it kind of made me feel better for somebody else to also realize and understand what was happening, and they could actually see it. There was bruising on my arms from them holding me down, amongst other things. So all that was documented, and it was filed away somewhere in that hospital. After the rape kit, they give you like a shot and also like a few pills. One of them is to try to prevent any sort of sexually transmitted diseases, and the other one is to stop any possible pregnancies, since I'm not sure if they use protection or not. So all of that also kind of wreaks havoc on your body. And of course, they give you medication for nausea for the next few days in case you do have to go through an abortion. But everything was fine with me, thankfully. But after all that, they just tell you, okay, you're free to go. So I called one of my best friends to come pick me up. So they picked me up, took me back home. And after that, I just didn't want to be alone. So I just had friends kind of take turns and stay with me and just lay in bed while I just stayed there because I didn't want to leave. I didn't know who to trust. That hasn't really stopped. I still kind of feel like that till this day. But yeah, I continued everything after the rape kit. I got a phone call maybe a few days after from my abuser, because I'm sure the police had reached out to him to ask him questions. So then that's the first time he reached back out to me, basically saying like, well, what did you tell them? And then I didn't reply back because I was told by the police officers not to talk to them or engage in any sort of conversation. After I filed that police report, the detective that was assigned to my case was able to find those other two guys that were involved on Facebook through my abuser's friend list. So I was able to point them out very quickly. So they have all their information, but according to the police, this gentleman that was investigating my case, they claim because other people saw me and my abuser kiss at the party, they claim that everything was consensual after that. Even though I've stated multiple times I had no idea who these other people were, they claim because of what they saw and because of what I was wearing. Surprisingly, that was brought up, what I was wearing, even though it was skinny jeans and a going out top and combat boots. I was asked what I was wearing and why I was being promiscuous. Even though I don't think me drinking or me blacking out had anything to do with anything, I was basically told that it was my fault that this had happened and to basically not let it happen again. And the police told me, we're not going to really be pressing any charges or moving forward with anything. So I was kind of just left with nothing. I was kind of just, hey, thanks for giving us that information. We're not going to do anything with it. So it has been very hard to kind of deal with that. Especially nowadays. I have since moved from my hometown, but it was horrible. There's been times in the future where I've actually ran into my abuser because I'll get a new job and I'll show up to work and holy behold, guess who's there? My abuser, because he just happens to work there too. So I've had to change jobs. I've had to just completely move to try to avoid running into him because I can't even explain the overwhelming feeling. I'm talking about years later, if I run into this person, I can't talk, I can't breathe, I just start freaking out and I just go hide. I go hide in a closet. That's what happened last time. I would just go cry and I would just say I can't work with this person. And it's funny because people don't understand. My last manager looked at me like I was crazy and I'm like, you don't understand what it feels like to be around this person and know that everyone around this person thinks that they are a good person, but they're not. Soon after all of this had happened, not only was I sexually assaulted by my friends and strangers that I didn't know, but I was then let down by the police department. So I felt just extremely alone. I couldn't trust anyone around me, not even the police department, not even the people that, pledged to do their job and protect other people. So I was left in a very, very weird position in my life. I just kind of focused on school and working, and I stopped hanging out with people. I stopped going out. I just started working out and focusing on myself just because I was afraid of people. I don't like to go out and drink because I assume somebody's just waiting and just lurking to take advantage of me. And that's not a good feeling because how am I supposed to date? How am I supposed to meet my future husband if I don't trust anybody? If I just assume that everyone only cares about my body and they're just trying to, sexually assault me or, get whatever they want, whichever way. That's just how I saw the world. So I was very, very scared, sheltered for a long time. In order to be able to heal, I guess I just had to start by telling people my story because I felt so ashamed about the whole situation. I was like, okay, what's the first step that I need to fix, so that I can completely heal and move on from this situation, even though I don't think I'll ever be able to move on. But, first step is fixing myself and having to accept what happened. So this happened, yes. It was a lapse of judgment on my end, but at the same time, I could have blacked out at my house. That doesn't mean that I'm automatically going to be sexually assaulted. So I need to, it's both parties are here at fault. There was a little bit of learning on my end, but at the same time, this should have just never happened, right? To anyone that has gone through any sort of, abuse, sexual abuse, whatever it may be, you need to accept that this did happen. It's not your fault. This happens to everyone. Young, old, smart. This happens to every person, male, female. And it happens way too many times. The only way to stop the cycle or stop this from happening to people or stop people being taken advantage of is talking about it. Because we don't talk about it, you don't think that these things happen, you know? We talk about all sorts of things. We talk about when we get broken up with. We talk about when we get a new car, but we don't talk about these really important things that we do need to talk about so that it doesn't happen to other people. So the first step is just accepting what has happened and also accepting that you need help. You need to talk to somebody else, not only to kind of just unburden yourself, but just get some of that weight off. Give it to somebody else. You know, that I never thought that talking to a therapist was going to help, but it did. And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes it might take a few therapists to talk to. Maybe that first therapist just you aren't clicking. Maybe you just need to find somebody else, but sometimes that's what it takes. And because you're talking to a therapist, it doesn't mean you're crazy or anything is wrong with you. You just need kind of like a mirror, kind of like a different introspective of what's happening. And you just need somebody to kind of bounce that off and just kind of hear and see like what's happening. Something that's not so biased. Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, I talk to my friends and I talk to my family. Sometimes you need somebody who is just completely unbiased to talk to you. And sometimes that therapist might have different coping mechanisms that you just don't know about or you've never heard about. And that's the most crucial step. And not only that, but just staying busy and figuring out what brings you joy in life, whether that's going on a hike or hanging out with your friends, trying different restaurants. Keep enjoying those things that you love, because if you just sit there and kind of just keep thinking about all those negative things, it's not going to help you in the healing process whatsoever. And I know it's hard because that's kind of what you want to do. You want to sit there and you want to be upset because the world is unfair, but you have to pick yourself back up to show that you're greater than this and that you can go on. And that no matter what happens, you are you and nobody can take that away from you.